Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project reimagining the world of Hyrule in the art style of the Wind Waker. Of course, you know, if you played Wind Waker, you know that all the islands of the Great Sea are really the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never get to fully explore Hyrule in the game. We get to see a small portion of it underneath the waves, but there's so much of the world that is hinted at but never shown. We have all these islands, but we don't see how they connect to the overworld down below. And so this project is all about answering that question, is what would Hyrule look like in the art style of the Wind Waker? And, you know, of course, if you're a Zelda fan, you know that we've seen Hyrule since. We've seen it in Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and now Tears of the Kingdom. And that has scratched that itch for me of wanting to explore Hyrule in a new way. But I've still always wondered, like, what would it look like in the art style of the Wind Waker? And I think a lot of y'all have too, wondering how it connects with those islands of the Great Sea. And so this is what Wind Waker Unflooded is all about. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I've given you the spiel. I've told you, you know, and I bring that up every time. You know, I don't like to repeat myself, but I do think there are things that are worth repeating just in case someone's new. Because I know that sometimes it's like I don't do many like kind of what am I trying to say? Most of the videos I do are just progress on the 3D modeling. And if you're just recommended a random video on the channel, I want you to feel caught up, you know? Because as I'm recording it, I feel like I'm starting in the middle, and I feel like a lot of people that are watching the videos are subscribers who've seen previous videos. But also it's like I do feel aware that like anyone could be recommended any video, and I want you to feel like you're caught up. And that's why like I include like a render at the beginning of the video now showing you the world so far, and I'm doing renders at the ends of the videos to show the progress on each video. And because that's something that like I do think like makes a difference. And I've talked before about like I think you know, I think something that I've been trying to really make sure all my videos do is just show the progress as it is. And I don't know, I try to make sure that like, you know, if you don't watch every video, which is fine, you know, like not every video is going to be interesting to you. And, you know, I post twice a week now, and that may be too much to keep up with. But like, I want you to feel like if you missed one, you can watch the next one and go like, oh, I see that in the background. Okay, he must have worked on that location. Interesting. You know, so I don't know. This is a channel that's just like by its nature, like I feel like you're not missing too much if you miss an episode. And I'm happy to voice that, you know, because I'll say otherwise. I'll say if it's like you should be watching every episode, and that'll help. But like this is not that kind of series, you know. I'm not telling a story here. I don't know. Like I feel like that is all worth saying. That like I get that, and it's okay. It's okay to not watch every video. I'm okay with that. I want you to enjoy my content, but also like it's okay. This is a chill channel, but what am I saying? Let's talk about the content. Let's talk about the video. This is we're doing trains, y'all. I know a lot of y'all have been suggesting it. I don't know how controversial it is. It might be controversial. We might be getting into controversies, but we're laying down train tracks on in this video. I mean, this was a big decision to make, and I guess I want to talk about that for a bit, because it's something that like for a while I was really hesitant to add trains at all to the world, because it's something that's never been in Hyrule proper. You know, we've seen it in Spirit Tracks, but that's not really Hyrule. It's new Hyrule, right? It's a new continent. It's not the same kingdom. It's just a new establishment of the kingdom in a new land, right? And Hyrule proper has never had trains. But to me, it's something that just like I thought about, and I'm like, this world is big enough, and I think it's okay to like, in imagining, all right, after the events of Ocarina of Time, Hyrule is being rebuilt. We know that there's a new Hyrule Castle. There's assumably a new Hyrule Castle town that was destroyed again before the events of the Wind Waker, kind of that we see in those tapestries in the prologue, right? We see the events of Ocarina of Time play out, and then we see a new castle town that is then destroyed again. And so, like, we know that there's some rebuilding in the wake of the events of Ocarina of Time. And that in some ways the kingdom has reached its peak again before it falls. And that's kind of when my project takes place. Is, well, let's show the peak of that kingdom as Ganondorf rises again. Ganondorf's tower, his new tower, has been built. but Hyrule Kingdom is still like has not been, like there has not been that siege on the castle yet, right? The monsters have not fully invaded, but their forces do grow in number and strength. So I think that's a really interesting part of the timeline. And I think that, like, just with that in mind, I think infrastructure that is what am I trying to say? That is has been more developed. I think that it makes sense to include that kind of stuff. And if you have any more ideas for new ways to show the grandeur of the kingdom, comment down below. I welcome comments, feedback, criticisms, both positive and negative feedback. I welcome all that. If you have any more ideas, then I'd love to see what you have to say. But I think before we keep talking about that stuff and getting into trains, I do think it's time for this short message. So we will be right back with more Wind Waker Unflooded after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's several ways that you can do that. Become a member on Patreon. It gives you access to exclusive bonus features and early access content in all of my filmmaking projects. Stuff like early access to scripts that I'm writing, storyboards, previs, rough cuts, and music that I compose. I'm a composer, and any music that you've heard in the background of this video was my music. So go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music and type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify.
And we're back. I just got to remind you how you can support me as a creator. If you see an ad on the video, I'm not making ad revenue. YouTube might be putting ads on the video, but this is completely non-monetized. This project is completely non-monetized. But if you do want to support me as a creator, you can become a member on Patreon or listen to my music on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. You just heard the spiel. I don't have to give it to you again. But I do want to just give you context for why I do those spiels. And so thank you for everyone that has been contributing. I'm very thankful. That makes a huge difference and makes possible the creation of everything that I do. So I'm so thankful for everyone that does contribute. And like I said, if it's not if it's not contributing financially, listening to my music on Spotify makes a difference and is appreciated. So just I gotta let y'all know that. So but yeah, back to the video at hand. It's I'm not the biggest train enthusiast, right? I'm not always itching to add it to the world, but it is something that makes travel more convenient. And of course, in the real world, I do believe in the power of public transportation. And I think I've talked before on the channel. I don't know how much I've gotten into it. I forget, man. But I do believe that a lot of the cities and towns in this version of Hyrule, I think there is an emphasis on walkability first. And I think trains are not really for getting around each town, but it is for getting around the world. And to me, that's when I thought, it does make sense. There's a way to design this line so that it can transport you to all the major locations. And with that in mind, it's worth adding. But there are so many mountains, right? And so many hills and so many towns at the tops of mountains. And it doesn't really make sense to have trains it doesn't make sense to have a trolley going through Hateno Village, in my opinion. I guess there could be one going up the side of the mountain, but to me, that didn't make as much sense just because it's already so walkable and it's pretty small. Even same with Castletown, but I am waffling on that, and I am considering adding a trolley going around the loop of Castletown, but we'll see. We'll see how I land on that. Comment down below what you think I should do. I'm not completely sure yet, but we'll see. We'll see what decision I come to. But yeah, it's same with Outset Island. Its village goes down the mountain, and it's I think it's fairly walkable. It is also on the side of a mountain, and so it's hard to add in extra roads and stuff, just because most of the pathways are about ascending the mountain. It's not really designed for more than pedestrian use. But I don't know. These are just all things I think about that I really am glad that I get to think about. I think something I've really enjoyed with this project, there's several things I get to enjoy. It's making those kinds of decisions, building out the world. And it's also just investigating the original material. I think part of the reason I do any project that somehow references previous material, whether it's a project like this that is a fan project, or whether it's some other projects I've done that are based on other works that are maybe in the public domain. I've done I'm trying to think of an example of something I've done. I mean, the first short film I ever did was an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. I did several films in high school that were based on, works from the public domain. I also did a version of The Wizard of Oz that was modernized. And those were those were high school projects, and so I don't bring them up artistically because I've grown so much as a filmmaker since then. Even though I enjoy them, I enjoy going back to my high school projects for the record, I still I made them because I was passionate about them, and I still enjoy watching them because of that, even if I've grown so much artistically since then and have made much better material since then. But I guess all this to say is even then, part of the reason that I made those projects was to have a reason to get closer to the source material, to have a reason to inspect the original material, to think about what was the meaning of these original stories. And same thing with this project, with Wind Waker Unflooded. This is a great reason to really inspect the Wind Waker and think about the way what are its design conventions? How did the modelers create its world? What is implied about the world that we never got to see? Hyrule beyond its borders. What is implied but never shown? And thinking about all these questions, and I've really enjoyed that about this project. And I think a lot of you feel that innately as well. That just part of Wind Waker is that so much is said but not really shown, and there's locations that you go to, officially we as far as the exterior of Hyrule, we only get to see that part near the castle, but there's other locations, right, like the Wind Temple and the Earth Temple, that are said to be temples in Hyrule, that both of those dungeons start on an island, and you go downwards into the mountain, into this temple in the mountain that is said to be in Hyrule, that just has that is accessible via an island on the Great Sea. And I think that's really interesting, that there are two dungeons that take place in Hyrule that tell us something about what Wind Waker's Hyrule is like. And there's other kind of examples of that. There's caves, right? And other kind of locations in the overworld, or I think about some of these ancient ruins, or the Savage Labyrinth, right? On Outset Island, that is this tunnel going deeper into Hyrule, and it starts with kind of more cave-like structures, but as you go further down into the Savage Labyrinth, it opens up into these ancient ruins. And I think it's really interesting, but showing you this part of old Hyrule in that sense, right? The further you go down below the waves. But anyway, and I'm just rambling. I think it's time to wrap up the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I've already given you all the spiels about how you can support me as a creator, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video. So without further ado, I'll let y'all go.